That's what dreams are made of. Hello, and welcome to the next exciting episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, the podcast where Matt and Todd go see a movie, and then we talk about it, and we share our thoughts and our hopes and dreams. This time from Benji's, that's misleading. We went to Benji's drive-in theater, we saw two movies, and we are reviewing them. Also, special programming note, this is the 100th audio file that I've recorded on this recorder that we use. So get excited about that. We only have maybe 45 episodes, something like that. Maybe a little bit more.
We're over 50.
Yeah, 50
We're
something.
over 50.
So what are the other 40 something? I don't know. You have to search my computer. I am Todd Dover.
And I'm Matt Malloy, and I think the FBI is searching your computer right now, Todd. So, hope they don't find anything too mysterious on those extra 40 audio files. Well, first, we'll get a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor is the Santa Fe Writers Project, or SFWP for short. And today I want to tell you about one of the books published by SFWP called We All Scream. This book is actually written by the founder and director of SFWP, Andrew Gifford. It's a memoir that details the rise and fall of the Giffords Ice Cream Company and the family behind it. Some of you from the DC area may remember Giffords. I have read the book, and it really will keep you turning page after page to find out what happens next. I highly recommend that you check it out. SFWP is offering 25% off to all of our listeners when you order direct through the website sfwp.com. Just use the coupon code MOVIES when you check out. This applies to We All Scream or any of their other great titles. Thank you, Santa Fe Writers Project, for help making the magic happen here at Matt and Todd Go to the Movies. Everyone go support a small business and buy some books.
Splendid.
Well, so this episode we did go to the drive-in. We saw a double feature.
Double feature.
We're going to be reviewing the first of the two movies now, which is Field of Dreams. And don't worry, we were socially distanced at the drive-in theater.
Yes.
We sat 6 feet apart from each other.
This is still technically a quarantined edition podcast.
Yes. So, what is Field of Dreams about? Well, it's about a guy, played by Kevin Costner, who buys a farm with his wife, and they have a kid, and then he starts hearing voices telling him to do various things. One of those things is to build a baseball field, including lights, in his cornfield. So tear down some corn, put in a baseball field, and he decides to do this, even though the only instructions he has are, if you build it, he will come, and a vision of a baseball field. So he does that, and then from then on, he hears some more voices throughout the movie telling him various things, and he meets up with various people, and baseball players from the past come out onto the field and play baseball. So I think that's a good summary of Field of Dreams. What did you think of this movie, Todd?
Well, spoiler alert, I have seen this movie before. And I love this movie. I think it's a fantastic movie, and our viewing of this movie only strengthened my opinion of that. So there's really great things about this movie that I'm going to try to highlight all of them as quickly as I can. First and foremost to me is the acting. I think this movie has just incredible acting in a way that I think some movies, to get all their points across or whatever, acting has to be over the top. Everyone's got to like really go big or go home, and especially with a movie that deals with a little bit of mysticism or something. I mean, like an element of that kind of stuff, of like, you know. And so people have large reactions to it or whatever to give it, I don't know, credit or whatever. And this movie does the opposite of that, which I think makes it incredible, which is, I mean, maybe besides like the first time he gets a message. Not even that. I mean, everything is just subtle reaction to it, like, and subtle explaining. I mean, like when he's like trying to explain, when Kevin Costner, that is trying to explain the visions or the vision and the voice to his wife. He's like kind of walking her through it, but he's not like over the top, like, you know, guess what happened out in the yard, blah, 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 blah. Like, he's like, just, because you can tell he's still wrestling with it, and he's confused, and so he's conveying this message to her. And, it's just, I feel like everyone in this movie does such a good job. I don't know, I can't remember the woman's name who plays his wife. I think she does a great job in this movie. The little girl in this movie, the daughter, I think does a great job in this movie. James Earl Jones is in this movie, and he does a phenomenal job in this movie. I mean, just a lot of good things in this movie as far as acting goes. The story is, like, to me, incredibly engaging and gripping. It's, okay, let me phrase it. Especially if you're a guy and you grew up liking baseball, or you had a connection with your father a little bit through baseball or whatever like that, this movie will definitely touch you in some way, I think. Like, and it's just like when we were just talking about Burning, you were talking about building up a story and stuff like that, and how Burning didn't have much of that or whatever, but this whole movie is just building on this story, and you're engaged through almost all of it. I feel. I don't know how everyone else feels, but that's where I'm at. It does have, and it's like, it goes along with my point of like subtleness and nothing's completely over the top. It has like one of my favorite scenes in cinema history in this movie. Tiptoeing around spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, but if you haven't, who are you? What are you doing? But there's a famous scene at the end of the movie where Kevin Costner is like meeting someone important to him and stuff like that, and they have like a really tender moment and stuff like that, and at the end the person's kind of walking away, and then his line in the movie is like, you want to have a catch, is what he says, but Kevin Costner's delivery of that line, like his voice breaks a little bit because he's emotional when he says it. And it's like such a small hint, and it's just, to me, stellar acting. He didn't have to like be like weeping or anything like that, or like, it was just this kind of like special moment between two characters and stuff like that. He's just a simple line of have a catch, but his voice breaks a little bit, he's emotional and stuff like that, and it's one of my favorite scenes in cinema history. So there's just too many good things I can say about this movie, so I'm gonna stop there. Except I do put this movie, not to fall into, I don't know, stereotypes in here, but if you haven't seen this movie, you need to, especially if you're a guy. Girls, I think, will like it too, but it is, when it was made, it was definitely geared more towards guys, I think. So that's where I'm going to end it. I could probably talk a lot longer about how I love this movie, but if you haven't seen it, go see it right away. Finish this podcast, and then take a break and go see this movie. Then come back for the next podcast we're going to record. So that's where I'm at. Matt, a first-time viewer, I think, of this movie.
That's right. Who am I and where have I been? Because I had never seen this movie before. Certainly I've been aware of this movie and sort of understood the plot a little bit just from kind of seeing clips here and there, maybe watching part of it at some point. It was on TV or something like that. But it became clear to me as I actually watched the movie that no, I had never seen this movie before, because there were parts of it where I was just like, wait, what's going on here? He's doing what now? As he sort of not transports himself like in a Star Trek way.
He does drive.
He drives around the country quite a bit, or covers some ground anyway. So I did like the movie. I probably don't like it as much as you do, Todd, but sure. I do think that the acting was really good. It's a good story. It's not a story you've certainly ever heard before, so very original in that way. And it has a nice nice flow to it. It's just kind of, you proceed through the story and you get to the end and you're like, that was nice.
Yeah.
I do think that there is somewhat of a specialness to the movie for father-son connections.
Sure.
I think, I thought about my dad who passed away a few years ago during that last scene that you mentioned, Todd.
Yeah.
I also thought about my kids, both my kids. And just kind of thinking about taking moments that you have to spend with your kids and moments that I spent with my dad. So, yeah, it was a touching conclusion, and it seemed like if the theme is anything, it's really kind of working out your history in your own mind, whether it's whether this is a shared delusion or whether it's magic happening. It's about Kevin Costner's character and how he sort of figures out his relationship with his dead father.
Right.
And kind of is able to put that to rest, I think, at the end of the movie. So if you have work to do in that area, I think it would be especially touching for you as you watch the movie. And probably, if you're a lady, could touch you in some of the same ways,
Absolutely.
The themes are based around sort of stereotypical father-son stuff, but the emotions are, I think, universal, maybe even between any parent and any kid. So,
especially if you had a not so great relationship with any parent, and they're not around anymore, and you kind of carry regret side of you about it.
Yeah. So that's where I'll leave it. I like the movie, and yeah, I'll go along with you should watch the movie if you haven't seen it.
Well, before I introduce a rating system, there's something I forgot to mention that this movie has that I really enjoy, because I used it when I was in high school drama class, is that this movie has just fantastic monologues to me. There's several incredibly good monologues by almost every character in this movie. I think my favorite is when they meet Doc Graham, which you won't understand unless you see the movie, but Doc Graham is a doctor who, they meet him when he's like way older in life, but they find out that when he was younger he played in like a kind of minor league system and stuff like that, and got to play one inning in the majors and didn't go anywhere, and then he kind of gave up on that dream and became a doctor. So this 80-something-year-old guy delivers this monologue of what he liked to do when he came to plate and how he came so close to his dream and it didn't happen. But he also, in the same monologue, talks about how so content he is with life because he became a doctor. He did all these really good things, stuff like that. It's just a great monologue, and I used it in an acting class. So, how many shoeless Joe Jacksons are you going to give this movie? A character we haven't even talked about, but probably my favorite Ray Liotta performance, shoeless Joe Jackson.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it 4 shoeless Joe Jacksons on the nose.
Nice.
So this is a quality movie. I have no regrets in watching it. If I'm going to nitpick anything, I'd say maybe the story's a little bit weird.
Sure.
Like from the, you mentioned the mysticism side of it. In some ways, it's a little bit hard to believe, but, we can suspend disbelief. It's definitely a quality film. So,
Sure.
4 is where I land.
I've struggled with the idea of what I'm going to rate this movie since we watched it. I was kind of, not hoping, but I was thinking that maybe since it's been a couple of years since I've seen it, that maybe there's something where I'm at now in life might bring it down a little bit. Like, not that I want that to happen, but it might have made ranking it a little bit easier. But it didn't happen. So I think I'm going to match my highest rated film on our list so far. and give it a 4.8.
Okay.
Which matches, I believe, what I ranked Parasite for our list, which is our highest ranked movie.
Yeah.
I think we were both up there. I can't remember. My number in my head is 4.8. I hope I'm right. So, that's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, that will wrap up this episode of our podcast, Matt and Todd Go to the Movies. This time we watched Field of Dreams, and we both really liked it. And we gave it a very high average rating of 4.4. So that's really high for us on a scale of 0 to 5 shoeless Joe Jacksons. And so thanks for listening to our podcast. You keep listening, and we'll keep making them, and it'll work out.
Da 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 da.
Da da da.